Good evening, I'm Nadia Jani and you're watching A News. Let's see your headlines. Canada follows the UK with plans to recognise a Palestinian state. Ukraine's capital Kyiv is struck by a barrage of missiles and drones with 6 people confirmed dead. And a Syrian-Israeli ministerial meeting is set to take place in Baku today. Canada will recognise the state of Palestine following similar moves by the UK and France. The decision hinges on Palestinian reforms and has drawn criticisms from Israel, calling it a reward to Hamas.
Canada will recognise a Palestinian state at the United Nations General Assembly this September, joining the UK and France in a coordinated diplomatic shift. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says the move hinges on Palestinian Authority reforms, including elections that exclude Hamas.
For these reasons, Canada intends to recognise the State of Palestine during the session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. This intention is based on the willingness of the Palestinian Authority to undertake essential reforms, including the promise by its president, Mahmoud Abbas, to hold general elections in 2026 and not to militarise the Palestinian state.
This comes after UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirmed plans to recognise Palestine unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire and a lasting peace agreement.
So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
This move comes after French President Macron became the first G7 leader last week to publicly endorse recognising Palestine on the platform X. Israel has condemned the recognition plans, calling them a reward to Hamas. Critics argue that recognition now risks undermining efforts to reach a ceasefire and could further inflame tensions in the region. However, supporters say it reflects frustration with stalled peace talks and the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the West Bank. If the UK and France proceed, the US will be the only permanent UN Security Council member not recognising a Palestinian state. The diplomatic shift signals a growing frustration within Western capitals over the long-running Israeli-Palestinian conflict and raises questions about how this will affect future peace negotiations.
A joint humanitarian effort by Jordan and the UAE have seen airdrops over Gaza continue. But while aid trickles in, critics say it's far from enough to meet the desperate needs on the ground, and pressure is mounting across the Arab world.
Airdrops over Gaza continued its joint Gallant Night 3 operation. 2 cargo planes, 1 Jordanian, 1 Emirati, delivered around 15 tons of humanitarian aid, including food and medical supplies. The deliveries come after growing criticism on social media, where many across the Arab world have questioned the limited regional response to Gaza's deepening humanitarian crisis. Not only Jordan, but Egypt has also joined in sending humanitarian aid by air to the Strip. According to Egyptian military officials, 4 transport planes departed with supplies to ease severe shortages amid restricted ground access. The total aid dropped in recent days now totals around 73 tons. This comes after Israel announced limited permission for aid delivery and paused military operations in some areas. However, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency criticised the move, saying they fall far short of addressing the worsening famine situation. The World Food Programme also says airdrops alone cannot meet the needs of the 2 million people living in Gaza. As food stocks ran out, the World Health Organization is warning of mass starvation. The Gaza Health Ministry says 154 people, including 89 children, have died of malnutrition, most in recent weeks. A global hunger monitor said on Tuesday that a famine scenario is unfolding. Israel says it has no aim to starve Gaza.
The US has announced its most significant Iran-related sanctions since 2018. It targets more than 115 individuals, entities and vessels tied to Tehran's global oil shipping network. Tehran condemns the move as a direct attack on its economy.
The US Treasury Department on Wednesday unveiled a major wave of sanctions targeting over 115 Iran-linked individuals, entities and vessels in what officials call the most significant Iran-related sanctions action since 2018. The move intensifies the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign, following last month's bombing of key Iranian nuclear sites. At the center of the sanctions is Mohammad Hossein Shamkhani, son of senior Supreme Leader Advisor Ali Shamkhani. According to Treasury, Shamkhani operates a vast global shipping network through intermediaries that facilitate the sale of Iranian and Russian oil, generating tens of billions of dollars in illicit revenue to support Tehran. The sanctions affect 15 shipping companies, 52 vessels, 12 individuals, and 53 entities across 17 countries, including Panama and Italy. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson condemned the sanctions as a hostile US act, calling them an evil attempt to undermine Iran's economy and public welfare. The EU had also sanctioned Shamkhani earlier this month over ties to the Russian oil trade. While the US insists the move is Iran-focused, officials acknowledged the action will impact Russia as well. The announcement comes amid dim prospects for renewed US-Iran diplomacy following recent military escalations.
A wave of Russian missile and drone strikes hit Ukraine's capital Kyiv early Thursday morning, killing at least 6 people, including a 6-year-old child, and injuring more than 40 people. The attack is one of the most intense in recent months.
Multiple explosions shook Kiev in the early hours of July 31st. In a span of just 23 seconds, a coordinated barrage of missiles and drones struck the Ukrainian capital. Local officials say at least 6 people were killed and dozens more injured in the strike, including a young boy.
There was a second air raid alert. I got up, saw that 5 cruise missiles were coming. I tried to wake my wife, then there were explosions. Our daughter is now in the hospital.
Among the worst hit areas was the central Solomyansky district, where apartment buildings were left in ruins. Footage released by Ukraine's interior minister showed emergency crews recovering the body of a child from the rubble. Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko said missile fragments had been recovered, and investigators are analysing the strike's trajectory and origin.
We had just come back from the bomb shelter. The alert had just been cancelled, and then boom, we thought it was safe.
As new air raid sirens sounded, survivors were forced to take cover once again. Emergency teams remain on high alert amid fears of renewed attacks.
The building across from us collapsed completely. I have friends there. I don't know if they're alive. This is so sad and horrible.
Authorities say more than 40 people were injured in Thursday's attack. Rescue and recovery operations are still underway, and officials caution the death toll may rise. Ukraine's air defense claims to have intercepted several incoming missiles, but confirmed that a number of warheads reached civilian areas. This marks one of the deadliest attacks on Kyiv in recent months, as Russia intensifies its long-range strikes amid continued fighting on the Eastern Front.
Thailand and Cambodia reaffirmed their shaky ceasefire on Wednesday after China helped mediate a peace process to end the days of border fighting. 5 days of intense clashes between the Southeast Asian neighbours that began last week killed at least 43 people, many of them civilians, and displaced more than 300,000 until a truce was agreed in Malaysia on Monday. Our Asia correspondent Laura Westbrook has more. The ceasefire that was reached in Malaysia was supposed to take effect at midnight local time on Monday. However, it was quickly tested. Thailand's army accused Cambodia of launching attacks in multiple areas early on Tuesday. Cambodia said there was no firing in any location. The Thai army then reported exchanges of gunfire into Wednesday morning, but said there was no use of heavy artillery. A Thai military statement said if violations persisted, then Thailand would take action, while Cambodia accused Bangkok of distorting the facts on the ground. Now, China stepped in to broker an informal meeting between Vice Foreign Minister Song Weidong and officials from Cambodia and Thailand in Shanghai on Wednesday. Beijing said both Cambodia and Thailand reaffirmed to Beijing their commitment to abiding by the ceasefire. China's foreign ministry said it was its latest diplomatic effort to play a constructive role in resolving the border dispute. And analysts say China's peacemaking efforts show its concerns about instability in its backyard, and that China's move to make its diplomacy public was in response to the US approach. Donald Trump gave an ultimatum threatening to stop trade negotiations unless the two countries agreed to stop fighting. Meanwhile, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet appealed on Thursday for the Thai side to return 20 soldiers it had detained hours after a ceasefire had started. Thailand's acting Prime Minister said they would be released after Thailand had completed investigations into the circumstances. Laura Westbrook for A News in Hong Kong. China has announced plans to conduct naval exercises with Russia as the two countries seek to strengthen military ties. Our correspondent Manur Makdum has more from Beijing.
China has announced it will hold joint naval exercise with Russia in August, reinforcing deepening strategic and military ties between the two nations. The drills will take place in the sea and airspace near Vladivostok, a strategic Russian port city on the Sea of Japan. The Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson Zhang Xiaogang has said that selected units from this exercise will participate in a joint follow-up patrol in the designated ocean areas. The announcement comes amid heightened geopolitical tensions and coincides with a separate US-led military exercise involving Japan, Australia, and other Indo-Pacific regions. The move by Beijing is seen as a coordinated response to what it views as increasing Western military encroachment in Asia. This cooperation and drill is expected to enhance strategic cooperation between Chinese and Russian naval forces, further solidifying their defense cooperation amid the ongoing geopolitical realignments. Manu Mathum, A News, Beijing.
We'll be back after a short commercial break to discuss the joint military drills between Russia and China and the impact these exercises are having in the war in Ukraine, with a special guest, Alexandria Filipenko, a political analyst. We will also discuss the latest situation in Gaza with Gustavo de Aristegui, a former Spanish diplomat.
Ready to welcome everyone to come to Gabala and to make unforgettable memories.
Welcome to Gabala. This territory is the most important place in our history. Our ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, and they had here amazing culture, amazing civilization.
There's something for everyone here. This place is the largest amusement park in Azerbaijan.
Our guests love to have meal in this atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, you see you're in nature, in the forest, and the good food.
6 tons, 579 liters.
And it's a lot of wine.
Biggest cask in the world.
Bandar is not just a holiday destination. It's a symbol of Azerbaijan's growing tourism potential.
The doors are open. Welcome to Gabala, Azerbaijan.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Now let's dive deeper into the last story on Russia and China holding joint military exercises. Joining me now is Alexandria Filipenko, a political analyst from Lithuania. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, no problem. My first question is, what message is China sending to the world by holding military maneuvers with Russia at such a delicate time?
Well, first of all, China is sending a message that no one can tell China what to do. No one can tell China to trade with who or to have military exercises with who. China has its rights to conduct any trade with whoever they want and conduct any military exercises with whoever they want. This is the main signal, I would say. Although this doesn't have a direct combat impact on Ukraine, but it's a very symbolic blow to Western unity. The Western world tried to make Russia see that it is isolated, but now China demonstrates that Russia is not isolated, that it still has global military partnerships. This boosts Putin's position, that gives him leverage to resist Western pressure, and also including President Trump's ultimatum concerning countries that are buying Russian oil or Russian gas. And this also is a potential distraction that shows that Moscow has multiple fronts and multiple allies. It complicates actually the Western strategic calculations. So this is a clear message, first of all, that China can do whatever it pleases and however it pleases and with whomever it pleases. But also this is a message to the Western world in general, and a message through President Putin and through Russia.
I see. And do you think the chaos in Europe is also playing into China's interest in all of this?
It must be, of course, and that trade agreement of President Trump with the European Union, as we all know, tomorrow those horrible tariffs on Chinese goods and Indian goods should come into effect in the United States. So now we don't see any deal done with China or with India. So right now we understand that this trade agreement with the European Union, on the one hand, it played into President Trump's hand, and he feels much stronger right now having this agreement with the European Union. But Europe is having a hard time. They have to support Ukraine. Ukraine war is not ending. There is no end in sight. And so it's very difficult for Europe to plan anything. And Europe cannot agree with China on trade. And right now, China is working with countries like Kazakhstan, for example. Kazakhstan has chosen China over Russia to build a new nuclear power plant. This is also a very powerful sign from China. So China is sending signals to everyone, including Russia, that China is the biggest power player. And of course, they want to send a signal that they're way bigger than the European Union and they can withstand any pressure by President Trump.
And just very quickly, Alexandra, do you believe there is still a way to bring Putin to serious peace negotiations? What do you think can be done?
Only if India actually will stop buying Russian oil and Russian gas. Right now, there are signs that India is stopping that and they won't work with Russia anymore. And only if China actually does the same. This is the only way, because it seems that Putin does not want to stop, or he doesn't want to show that he cracks under pressure of President Trump, and only shows that no sanctions will influence him. So there is a way to influence through India or through China. I think this is the only way.
And is there anything that President Trump can do in regards to this? Obviously, he's given Russia 10 days to put sanctions on, or to stop the war in Ukraine. Would that help them stop the war in Ukraine, do you think?
I think that India can play a part. We are seeing right now that India surpassed China as the main trading partner of Russia in oil and gas. So this might really have an effect. And today we've seen that India actually stops buying oil from Russia. So the reaction, we are still to see the reaction from the Kremlin. Maybe they will try to do something, but this, I believe, can actually influence Putin and actually maybe not put an end right now to the war, but maybe this will make the ceasefire closer.
Thank you for joining me, Alexandra Filipenko. Thank you.
Thank you.
The 22-member Arab League, the European Union, and another 17 countries have for the first time issued a joint call for Hamas to disarm and relinquish power in Gaza. Joining me now is Gustavo de Aristegui, former Spanish diplomat. Hello.
How are you? Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. My first question is, what has changed for Arab states to be actively pressuring Hamas now?
Well, you must understand that this is the public statement, but it's very much the private feeling that they've had for years. For all of these states that have made this public statement, they consider themselves the worst enemies of Hamas. Even Qatar, who has been unfairly accused of being a Hamas friend or terrorist sponsoring and financing nation, it's absolutely false. It is thanks to Qatar that many refugees made it out of Afghanistan. It is thanks to Qatar that many hostages made it out of the tunnels of Gaza, and they have been mediating on behalf of the United States and even of Israel and on their demand. So let's make it very clear. We're seeing a shift of influence in the world. And before, of course, the main Arab power was obviously Egypt. Egypt has a very able president. They have been able to defeat radical Islamism by changing the regime. I mean, there can be some doubts as to the method, but there is no doubt that al-Mursi's government was a complete disaster for the economy and for Egypt's influence in the world. But coming back to the Gulf countries and coming back, let's state very clearly that, for example, a country like Jordan has a very clear-cut position on standing strong and being vigilant against jihadism. And they have been doing this for decades with King Hussein II, now with King Abdullah II, very, very principled world leaders. The same goes for all of the Arab leaders in the Gulf. They see Hamas and the ideology that it stands for as their main enemy, as the main source of instability and upheaval in their countries. So right now, of course, it is a huge leap forward. It is a quantum leap in world politics and in geopolitics to see that these countries are saying now in public what they have been saying in private for years. It is a very, very good sign. I think that this is probably the only good thing that has come out of this joint declaration, because unfortunately there is a very public rift between some of the main European countries as to, for example, the intentions of France or the UK of formally recognizing the statehood of the Palestinian entity, of the Palestinian Authority. And we have seen a very strong statement yesterday of the spokesperson of the State Department that showed that they were not happy at all, because they actually believe that this conference in New York was actually distracting the negotiators from the key issue, which was trying to get Hamas to make concessions.
I see. And with that, will this declaration then have a practical effect on achieving the peace in Gaza with what's going on?
Well, you can see that there is a global outcry today, even among people and countries that have been declaring themselves staunch allies and friends of Israel for decades. I would like to underline the position, for example, of Germany with Friedrich Merz, who is a well-known personal friend of the State of Israel. But again, people that are making a very clear distinction between the State of Israel and its present government, or the State of Israel and its present prime minister. The State of Israel is much more than the present government. It's much greater, much bigger, much more important for the Jewish people in the global Jewish community, and the preservation, the security, and the well-being of the Jewish people of the world. And it is much more important for history as a whole. So quite frankly, what is happening in Gaza today is hurting Israel very badly. It's hurting Israel's image very badly, and in such a way that it's going to be very complicated for whomever comes to government in Israel after to try to gain back the narrative and the image. Therefore, I will respond to your question about the possibility of this opening a possibility for peace. Let us be very clear. Hamas needs this war to be prolonged. Hamas needs Israel to stay in Gaza. Hamas needs for the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza to continue for as much as possible. So actually, this is very much a self-fulfilling prophecy. I believe that also they are not stupid, and they understand the world, and they understand the Arab world. When countries that are so important as the United Arab Emirates, as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as Qatar, as Kuwait, as Oman, as so many other nations that are sending a very clear message that people like them have no place in the future of the Middle East, that is a very strong statement, and I think that it's going to fall very harshly and very strongly on their heads.
Thank you so much for joining me, Gustavo D. Aristegui. Thank you.
My pleasure.
We'll be back after a quick break with key stories shaping the region.
Join me, Nick Somerby, on A News. From my days playing in the Premier League to working as a broadcaster for the channels like Al Jazeera and beIN Sports. I've never been afraid to ask the tough questions to find out what's really going on behind the scenes of the world's biggest sports teams. We'll be taking you inside the latest stories, stats and dressing room secrets of the world's biggest teams.
Now let's take a closer look at the key regional developments. A ministerial meeting between Israel and Syria is set to take place in Baku. According to news agency AFP, the talks will focus on the security situation in southern Syria.
A high-level meeting between Syrian and Israeli officials is scheduled for Thursday in Baku, Azerbaijan. AFP cites a diplomat saying Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani and Israel's Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer will attend the talks. This follows a similar meeting in Paris last week. The focus will be on southern Syria, particularly the aftermath of deadly clashes in the Sweda region. This isn't the first time Baku has hosted discreet negotiations. The Azerbaijani capital has hosted at least 3 rounds of dialogue between Israel and Turkey over military activity in Syria. Earlier this month, Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa paid an official visit to Azerbaijan. During the trip, the two countries signed agreements on post-war reconstruction in Syria and energy exports, including a plan to deliver Azerbaijani gas to Syria via Turkey. According to a Syrian source cited by I24 News, al-Sharaa also met with a high-level Israeli delegation in Baku. These talks highlight Azerbaijan's growing strategic location for hosting and facilitating discussions on conflicts in the Middle East.
Russia has invited Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa to attend the first Russia-Arab League summit, set for the 15th of October. The invitation was confirmed during talks in Moscow between the two foreign ministers. Discussions focus on Syria's political transition, regional security and continued diplomatic engagement, including earlier contacts in Turkey. Syrian officials framed the visit as part of efforts to restore stability and strengthen bilateral relations with Moscow. The US and Turkey are moving closer to resolving their long-running dispute over the Russian-made S-400 missile system. US Ambassador to Ankara Tom Barak told Turkish media that a path will be found to resolve key defense disputes. He said the 2017 disagreement stemmed from a misunderstanding and noted shifting conditions. Barak also expressed hope for progress on F-35 and F-16 issues, as both nations aim to deepen trade ties and NATO looks increasingly to Turkey for support. Washington is stepping up its focus on Central Asia. The US is offering Kazakhstan new export routes and raising concerns about the expanding influence of Russia and China. Our correspondent in Almaty has more details.
Kazakhstan is once again in the geopolitical spotlight, and this time American interests are front and center. Julie Stafford, who is nominated to be the US ambassador to Kazakhstan, told the Senate during her confirmation hearings that nearly half of all critical minerals that the US economy and national security depend on are found in Kazakhstan. She made these remarks while discussing America's strategy to diversify sources of strategic raw materials, especially those needed for high-tech industries, defense and the move toward the green economy. At the hearings, Stafford also highlighted a key priority, countering Russian and Chinese influence in Kazakhstan. She explained that Russia applies pressure through its long land border, while China is actively expanding its role in Kazakhstan's telecommunications and resource sectors. Given this, Stafford believes it's in America's interest to see Kazakhstan stable, independent and prosperous. She also said that Washington is ready to work with Astana on developing alternative export routes that bypass Russia. This could include reducing reliance on the Caspian Pipeline Consortium, which carries up to 80% of Kazakhstan's oil. By early 2025, Kazakhstan has identified 38 promising sites with rare earth metal reserves totaling around 2.6 million tons. One of the most notable discoveries is the Jana Kazakhstan site in the Karaganda region, where initial estimates put the reserves at about 20 million tons. Experts say this deposit could become the third largest in the world after China and Brazil if these numbers are confirmed. And today, Kazakhstan is carefully navigating its relationships with major global powers. On one hand, there is China, which has made significant investments and gained broad access to the country's resources. On the other hand, Russia remains a close partner with strong historical and economic connections. Meanwhile, Astana is also actively working to deepen its ties with Europe, Turkey and the United States. And essentially, Kazakhstan aims to maintain positive relations with all these partners. While this approach opens up new opportunities, it also carries certain risks. And so the United States sees Julie Stafford as a key figure to advance its interests and expand its presence in a region that's playing an increasingly important role on the global stage. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzana, A News.
In a statement from prison, opposition leader Mamuka Kazaradze has accused the Georgian government of sabotaging the Ankylia deep sea port project. As new talks with a Chinese company move forward, the port's future now raises fresh questions about Georgia's geopolitical alignment.
From behind bars, the opposition leader Mamuka Kazaradze has accused the ruling Georgian Dream Party of what he called sabotaging the Ankylia deep sea port project. In his statement, Kazaradze claimed that the government deliberately obstructed a development vital for Georgia's national interests. He argued that the Ankylia port could already be operational today, bringing thousands of jobs and turning Georgia into a regional transit hub if it had received Western backing from the very beginning. But for now, the current government is pursuing another options. Ties have reportedly been developing with Chinese communication construction company, or other way CCCC. If the deals goes through, the Georgian government will own 51% of this project, while the CCCC will hold the remaining 49% and serve as the main contractor. The supporters of this potential deal argue that Chinese firms bring financing, speed and experience, the factors that could finally launch construction after the years of delay. But critics warn that partnering with U.S. blacklisted company could strain Georgia's future relationship with Washington and pull the country farther from its declared Euro-Atlantic path. The Ankylia deep sea port was originally envisioned as a Western-oriented project with a high-capacity gateway between Europe and Asia, giving access to deep waters for large cargo ships. For now, with government's efforts and plans to select the investor still underway, the project's future hinges not only on contracts or logistics, but also on geopolitical direction Georgia chooses to take. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
Georgia has connected 5 solar panel plants with a total capacity of 10 megawatts to its national grid, marking the first time solar energy has entered the country's transmission system. Supported by nearly $5 million in local bank funding, Georgia's economy ministry says this project is part of a broader renewable energy effort. Currently, 125 megawatts of wind power are under construction, with an additional 200 megawatts in development. The long-term goal is to strengthen energy security and enable electricity exports to Europe through a planned Black Sea cable. In central Turkey, a canyon carved by time is drawing in nature lovers and adventure seekers. Located in Kayseri, Avla Canyon offers visitors a dramatic landscape of narrow rock passages, towering cliffs and colourful formations.
Tucked away in the heart of Anatolia, Avla Canyon unfolds like a scene from a nature documentary. It sits at the foot of the Taurus Mountains and is known for its natural beauty, historical sites and proximity to the famous Soğanlı Valley. Stretching 3 kilometres through Kayseri's Yeşilhisar district, this striking canyon was formed along a fault line and sculpted over the years by powerful floodwaters. Avla Canyon itself was formed by an active geological fault, making the region a live example of natural earth movement shaping the land. With its steep cliffs, tight passages and vibrant rock colours, it's become a popular route for hikers and nature photographers. Some sections narrow to just 60 centimetres, offering a real sense of adventure as visitors squeeze between towering walls that rise up to 15 metres. The canyon lies in the middle of a wide plateau, and when sunlight hits the layered rock, it creates a natural light show, shifting tones from gold to rust red. Even on the hottest days, the cool breeze drifting through the rock corridors brings natural relief, making it what some call a natural air conditioner. Locals say the landscape is unlike anywhere else in Turkey and often compare it to Arizona or even Jordan's Petra. Thanks to its dramatic landscape and isolation, the area around Yeşilhisar has occasionally been used as a backdrop for Turkish historical films and documentaries. For those looking for a scenic, peaceful and slightly wild hike, Avla Canyon is quickly becoming one of the region's most remarkable spots.
After a short commercial break, we will discuss the expected meeting between Israeli and Syrian representatives in Baku with Osama Risby, an energy and economic expert.
We are ready to welcome everyone to come to Gabala and to make unforgettable memories.
Welcome to Gabala.
This territory is the most important place in our history. Our ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, and they had here amazing culture, amazing civilization.
There's something for everyone here. This place is the largest amusement park in Azerbaijan.
guests love to have meal in this atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, you see you're in nature, in the forest, and the good food.
6 tons, 579 liters.
And it's a lot of wine.
Biggest cask in the world.
Bandar is not just a holiday destination, it's a symbol of Azerbaijan's growing tourism potential.
The doors are open. Welcome to Gabala, Azerbaijan.
Welcome back. Now joining me is Osama Risby, an energy and economic expert from Lahore, Pakistan. Hello.
Hello, nice to be here today.
No problem. Well, we're going to be talking about the meeting between Syrian and Israeli delegations in Baku today. And my first question to you is, why was Baku chosen as the place for secret security talks between the two countries?
Well, that is a very interesting and relevant question, actually. And this is a development that is every month, or in the previous year at least, has taken further significance. You see, like, I'll start from COP29. That happened in Baku as well. It showed how Baku has gained its place in the international arena diplomatically and otherwise. And the reason for choosing this meeting particularly in Baku is, of course, that the Baku serves as a neutral zone as compared to Vienna or any other country if they would have opted for that. Azerbaijan enjoys good relation with Israel and also functional relation with Syria and Russia. So, you know, and Azerbaijan also intends to play a very positive role in the region, and we have seen that happening. So I think that those are the reasons that Baku has been opted as the place for the meeting.
And what triggered the urgency for dialogue, particularly now?
Well, you see, if we follow the latest developments in southern Syria, there has been an escalation in matters, and specifically a lot of issues on the sectarian side. The sectarian clashes have worsened, and if it is not stopped right now or curtailed, I think you know, this region is very tricky. There are lots of moving pieces, and there is a chance of spillover, hence the urgency of the meeting.
Okay, and could these talks be seen as a shift in Syria's regional alignment in light of its warming ties with the Arab League?
Well, you know, it might be too early to say that this meeting would turn into a regional realignment or a strategic turn in Syria's recently launched chapter. There might be some tactical short-term things that that come up in the meeting. There might be some agreements, localized, regionalized, but there would be, you know, I would like to see the support of other countries in the region, especially the Middle Eastern countries, for it to be properly called a strategic realignment, such as UAE, Saudi Arabia. So it's a wait and watch approach right now.
Okay, and how does that benefit Azerbaijan by hosting these sensitive talks between the two countries?
Well, as I said in the beginning, Azerbaijan intends to and should play a very important role in the region because this part of the world, the developing world or the global south and the Central Asian countries, of course, are going to play a very pivotal role especially in economic progress. And hosting such meetings, international meetings, and becoming a venue for such meetings showcases Azerbaijan's, Baku's relevance outside the Caucasus as well, and it intertwines or aligns it with the overall diplomatic, waves or overtures going on these days.
And what would you say are the risks or the possible consequences if these back-channel talks break down or stall?
Well, first of all, the first scenario can be the fight goes on as it is right now. But what is most likely is that there can be a worsening in the clashes. And of course, as I said earlier, it can spill over into the other countries. We have recently seen a lot of geopolitical upheaval in the region, and certainly it should be avoided at any cost.
Definitely. And how have Iran and Hezbollah responded to the possibility of a Syrian-Israeli communication?
To the best of my knowledge, right now, we haven't heard officially from both of these sides, but naturally they will be watching this development very closely. It is also important to know that what will be the outcome from these meetings. I mean, I'm not looking at something very significant, but I hope and I believe that we might be looking at some sort of a framework emerging that may lead to a cessation of hostilities in southern Syria.
And could this be, the first step towards wider de-escalation in the region, or are these talks, just purely tactical and short term?
To be, I would like to side with my realist side, and I would say this might be a tactical reorientation, but for the regional de-escalation, there are so many other actors, so many other developments that are still unaddressed and that still lurk in the corner and may emerge, unfortunately, at any time. So we would need to see a wider and a cohesive, coordinated effort for a regional de-escalation.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Osama Risby. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News.